Hi, I'm Suzanne and this is our little farm. Today I'm going to run you through 5 ways of involving the kids in the garden. And involving your pets too. Okay, the first one has got to be, the best thing you can do is if you come over this way. And we have our little volunteer children here. We have Willow and Olive. She's 7 and 3, and if you look down here, we've got what's called cow poo brew. So this is our own little fertilizer we are making at home, and the kids love stirring this. It's like having anything that's a concoction, anything that's mixed up with water. We leave these little sticks here, the kids will come and just stir it on their own. And we helped make it together. Remember how we made it, girls?
Water?
Yeah, we put water in.
Of course, cow poo.
And cow poo, yeah. We filled it up to about that much
Mum,
with cow poo.
Didn't you put some of these little bottles of stuff?
Oh, I had some biodynamic preparations, I did. And I popped them in there as well, I'd forgotten about that. And then we filled it up with water. And the girls, they come and they stir it. And then we've got some little old yogurt containers that they come and dip it out. And you want to have a go and you dilute it down with some water. And then they go and water their plants. So I think that's like my #1 strategy. Like, I don't think you can get past that for fun in the garden. Anything to do with poo is a winner. Okay, next one is worm farms. They're just made for having kids. Olive, do you want to have a go with this one? We've got a few different worm farm things going on. We've got this one here. I'm going to take the lid off there. The worms are fun. Worm farms, I think, are really fun because they can get involved, and at the same time they're seeing what happens with the compost. So we've got some compost you can add here. We'll take off the cardboard and you put it under there. And it's endlessly fascinating looking at the worms. So whenever we open this up, I know Olive always asks to hold a worm. She wants to look at it. It's just a really great way to being involved. So we keep this one here. We've got a couple around the garden, but this is the one here that the girls really love to manage and look after. And of course, it also...
I like the rectangle one.
You like the shape of the rectangle?
No, I just like it.
You like that one better? It collects the worm juice at the bottom, which they love to go and pour on plants. So it's really interactive. Okay, so that's our second thing. Our third thing is, I think plant things and encouraging the idea of foraging really works. So we talk about, we've got these little bucket minis for the girls. We talk about sending the girls out foraging to go and see what they can find in the garden. So they're going to do that now. Would you like to come and take one of these? And then you can go and see what you can find and then bring it back. Olive, do you want to take this one? Your little worm. Should I put that one back? Pop it back. And we'll put the lid on. Okay, you go and see what you can find in the garden.
Where is my cuddling mummy?
Your capsicum? You go see if you can find it.
I'm in that thingy.
Okay. Put the lid back on here. Off they go. So the things that I find work really well for the kids of planting is cherry tomatoes, which I think probably has to be like the crop of the subtropics. I mean, they sprout up on their own, and we've also got plants that we've planted ourselves. They love picking any of the leafy greens. They really love to pick that. They love picking basil and lettuce and get excited. I mean, peas and beans, we haven't really got into that. I've only just planted some beans now, but I think that's a really good one with kids. But we'll see what they come up with. But the idea of foraging just seems to just be a really great way of involving them, and I think they can see where the food is. They get to do it themselves, and we put it in a salad, so I find that works really well. All right, there's 2 more things. Oh, look, you found a spot there, Nala. So Nala's demonstrating. This is my 4th thing, which is have a space where the children can have some ownership. So we've got this set up here. This is my little potting area. got various seeds and things like that this is my little work area that I do. And this is the area for the girls. So I find they've also got some tools. I've got a few things here. They've got a few other things, they're lying around the place, but eventually they find their way back here. But leaving things here that they can use, and we were given these, we were given these old egg cartons, which we've tried, or this one here, we've tried putting soil in here and planting in that. We've also got this one here. I found that if there's an area where they can be messy and play and not have to answer to anybody else, I think that, and then they've got their worm farm next to it, it's started to build up a sense that they've got an area in the garden that's theirs. And we don't have it in our family where they don't have their own vegetable patch as such, but they do plant things within the veggies, the garden beds that I've got going. That's how we've sort of chosen to do it, because I thought if they had their own patch, it'll end up being me doing it. It's a different, and I didn't want to put pressure on them doing it. So it works really well like this. They can plant things, play with it. We've also got more worms in here. This is another little worm farm. But I might change this in the future, and I might just put some potting mix here and some sand. So more things that they can play with and they can water. And I find that they really enjoy, like sometimes I'll come out and they'll just be out here on their own. Willow went through a stage where she was out here and she was planting things up on her own and getting really into the garden. The last thing would be it's a tricky one with gardening, because you know not everything works, okay? And I get a bit discouraged when I plant seeds and they don't work. So I try to set things up so that they can have some success. So they've each got their own little seedling starter thing, kit you would call it. At the moment actually we've just got soil in there, but usually we have one of these. We've got, I've actually planted these ones. These are, we've got vegetable spaghetti planted there, and nothing's come up here, but this is perpetual spinach. Perpetual spinach in that one. But usually I have this in there, and they've each got their own, which has their name on it. And we generally have sunflowers going the whole time. I bought a big bulk pack, it was very economical. I found a type that grows really well here, and they come, they put the seeds in themselves, they grow, they're reliable, and it's really exciting that they can see them grow themselves. And then we plant them out amongst the garden. And the only reason we don't have any now, we've got a couple growing up, but a few weeks ago we had a lot of them here flowering, and then we had a whole heap of cockatoos come in and enjoy them one morning for breakfast, which was good for the cockatoos, but you know, it's part of the gardening. But usually we've got a succession of sunflowers going, and I found that that's worked really well because they can see it, they tell everybody who comes over that they planted them, and yeah, so they're my 5 tips. The girls will be back soon. We'll see what they foraged. So what were they? They were having some kind of manure tea. So we've got the cow poo brew because we've got access to cow poo. And so having some kind of manure tea that they can then use. And worm farms, having a dedicated space for them and tools that they can just play and come and do their own thing. The 4th thing is planting something that they'll be successful at. So we've chosen sunflowers, and they've got their own seed containers to do that. And the 5th thing is planting things around the garden that really encouraging this idea of foraging, and send the children off with some bowls and get them to go and forage from the garden. So we'll see what they've brought back. Here come the girls. What have we found? Oh, wow, you found lots of things. You want to put them in there? Oh, look. What did you find? Do you want to tell me?
I found a few finger limes. Oh, look, there's a lady beetle.
Oh,
It was on one of them.
Yeah, it's flying around. Some finger limes. Yum. These are delicious. I know you love these, Willow.
We know I need to eat those now. We need to give these to Mocha's house.
You want to
A
give them
little
to
bit.
Monica.
A
Yes.
little bit to eat. Need not
Pick some
eat
tomatoes
this big
then.
one.
That one to Monica.
Yeah.
So we've got
I want these two.
some spinach,
And these potatoes.
some
and
parsley,
these limes.
and limes, and tomatoes.
Yeah.
And you've got some rocket.
I want to give those to Mocha's house too.
Okay, and this one's been eaten by something, but we can give that, might even put that in the worm farm or give it to the guinea pigs.
I want to have put these in Mocha's house too.
Oh, and you've got one of the little capsicums.
Mhm.
We've got a bush of perpetual
And
capsicums
these
that
are
are really
Mocha's
make
house
these
too.
really
I'll
tiny,
give
tiny
these to Mocha's
capsicums. They're
house
fun to
too.
pick.
I'll give these.
You want to give that to Monica too? Well done, girls. We can take that inside and eat today.
No.
No?
No.
Oh, we'll take them to Monica as well.
Mocha's house too.
So they're my 5 tips. Hope you enjoyed that. And I figure that none of this goes to waste. So I'm hoping that this involvement in the garden just kind of seeps into their selves and that one day they'll grow up and they'll be doing this with their own kids. So for me, it's really worth having them involved. Actually, there's something I wanted to show you. I just remembered. A couple of weeks ago, Olive, who's the 3.5-year-old, came to me with a cherry tomato and said, Mum, I'm going to dig it and put it in the garden and plant it. And she had 2 and I said, okay. So I didn't, to be honest, didn't think, I was off doing something else, didn't think much of it. And she went, she got her little trowel and she dug it in. And then she asked for a sign and I came and gave her a sign and she put it in. And then we came back about a week ago and it sprouted. I'm going to have a look. So this is the sign, and she just dug it and put it in the ground and planted it there, and look how it's sprouted up with all these. So we're not going to thin it out. I'm not going to this is the little capsicum plant I was talking about that had these beautiful little capsicums on them. I'm not going to thin it out. I'm just going to leave it like that, and we can watch it together and see what happens and watch it grow. But it was so exciting because, to be honest, I didn't think it was going to grow. She just popped it in and watered it. But that's the kind of thing that just really makes my heart sing when I see that sort of initiative and involvement. And yeah, so it's really beautiful. So anyway, that's it. Hope you enjoyed. Bye. Let's do a bonus tip. What's your idea? What do you think works is really good for helping kids get in the garden?
Well, I like getting grubby.
You like it
Like in the dirt and stuff.
in the dirt, getting dirty? Yeah, that's lots of fun. So anything that helps you get dirty, huh?
Mud.
Mud, says Olive. So Olive loves mud.
Dirt and hose.
Do you want to go up there next to Willow? It's all dirty. So is that your tip, is it? Mud. Okay, so we've heard mud and dirt in the garden. That's what kids want to help them get in the garden.